Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, and if you are new here, my name is Cole and this is my Honda Ridgeline. This channel is specifically about the Honda Ridgeline. I do review videos, modification videos, road trips, and some off-roading as well. But today we're going to be putting on a 1.5-inch leveling kit from JSPORT. And JSPORT is the same manufacturer as my roof rack that I put on last week. So I know this is going to be an awesome product as well because I am loving that roof rack. The thing that I like most about JSPORT is that their products are made specifically for Hondas. When you use their products, you're not going to be having to do any drilling. Everything will bolt directly on to your truck or any other Honda vehicle. And they also claim that even though I'm adding that 1.5-inch leveling kit today, it's not going to affect my miles per gallon. And it should also maintain the awesome ride quality that we love about our Honda Ridgeline. And I've really never done anything like this. Never done a leveling kit, lift kit, anything this invasive on a vehicle. So if I'm able to pull it off today, I think anybody at home can do the same and should feel comfortable doing it. I'll show you guys what my truck looks like before the 1.5-inch leveling kit. That way you can compare it to the after later on. For tools that we're going to be needing today, we've got our leveling kit, which I'll open up shortly. We're going to need 2 jacks. I've got a breaker bar and the socket to go with it to take down those lug nuts, a 17mm socket, 15mm socket, 14mm socket, and a 9/16 socket. I've got my regular socket wrench, and I also have a torque wrench. Another thing that I'm going to keep handy just in case I have to break some nuts or bolts loose is basically a version of WD-40. And I'll also have a hammer handy, just in case I need to loosen something. But those are all the tools that I believe I need, but I will let you guys know if I end up needing something later on. But now we are going to open up that 1.5-inch leveling kit, see what's inside. All right, opening up the box, right away we've got some stickers, super nice of them. Thank you, Jeff. 2 sway bar links. A package of hardware, just some washers, bolts, and looks like we're going to be maybe reusing the previous nuts. We'll see on that. And then inside here, everything is packaged super nicely. Oh wow, that's beautiful. Here is our spacer. Looks nice. And here's the second one. Oh. Cool. And that is everything that we're going to need for today. So we're going to get started. I've been researching how to install a 1.5-inch leveling kit for a couple weeks now, and I've read through instructions and also watched a ton of different videos. But when watching the videos, I feel like they all skip steps and just don't really explain to you what they're doing. So in this video, I'm going to do my best to be very detail oriented and just explain what I'm doing and why. So we're going to start by loosening the lug nuts just on this driver's side, and then we are going to jack up the front of the truck. So placing jacks on both of the front ends. And the Ridgeline does have a few nice spots to place a jack right behind the driver's side tire and then the passenger tire as well. And there's also one in the front and the back, but we're not worried about those today. The truck looks great when it's jacked up this high. I don't even know how many inches that would be, but it'd be quite a bit more than what we're putting on. Now that we've got the wheel off, we're going to start by taking off the bolts from the brake line. That way we can get the brake caliper off and also get rid of this ABS wire. So we'll do that, and that'll free up some things that we need to take off. Well, it didn't take long to need a different socket than what I told you guys. This is a 12mm socket. So we can get this loosened. For the nut for the ABS wire, we're gonna need a 10mm socket. So I'm just gonna loosen that. That's just right on the back here. This part of the wire I'm able to just pull right off, and it's just a little piece of foam around it. And then this next part is a little piece of plastic that I'm just going to tuck in the sides, and then I'll be able to pull that out as well. Might use pliers, and that'll help me make it quite a bit easier. There we are. So I am unable to unhook the ABS sensor from the back. It's just rusted in, and I tried to pop it out with a screwdriver and pliers, and just nothing's working. So I'm gonna try to just keep it in and see if I'm able to do that. Before I remove the sway bar, I am going to remove this lower arm. That way I've got a nice spot to work. Just bending this pin over, and I should be able to pull it out. I'll try to push it out so I don't have a lot of space. It looks like our 17mm socket's gonna work for this. This stuff is rusty. It's only a couple years old, but man, that rust happens quick. Oh, there we go. Oh, I thought I had it. Yeah. Man, that sucker was on. I think it would have been a lot better if I had a deep socket, but I don't think I've got one. I switched sockets, and I think this one might be a little bit deeper, but not exactly what it's calling for. Now I'm gonna take off the brake caliper, and for that I'm gonna need a 19mm socket, and there are 2 bolts to take off. If I didn't have this WD-40 knockoff, I don't think I'd be doing any of this project, because these bolts are stuck on. They're kicking my butt. Now we're gonna get the sway bar link off. Oh, that sucker's deep. I don't have any deep sockets, so that's definitely something you guys need if you're gonna try this project. So I now have my deep sockets. I actually just door dashed these because I don't have a vehicle to drive. So I think what I'm supposed to be doing is putting an Allen wrench in the center of this bolt here, and then twisting the nut at the same time, which would be a problem now that I've got that deep socket, but I will use a crescent wrench for the nut now that it's actually loose, and then I'll use that Allen wrench, and it should work. I've been trying to get this nut off for a couple of hours now. I got several different tools. I got those deep sockets, which did work for loosening them, but I needed to use an Allen wrench while spinning the nut, so I wasn't able to use that socket. And then I got some regular wrenches that'll fit in there a little bit better, but the nut is so stripped now that it just keeps on spinning. So now I'm just gonna drill it out. We finally got her. So I finally got that nut drilled out. Literally took me hours just to get this simple nut off, just because I wasn't using the right tool and ended up rounding around the nut, so I didn't have any traction, so I had to drill it all the way out, which I've got a $25 Amazon drill, which I just planned on using to drill something in my inflatable boat and probably never use it again. I probably would have gotten a nicer drill if I would have known I'd be doing this kind of stuff. But now that we've got this problem solved, we've got potentially a worse problem. So the other part of our bar here, we've got the same problem, completely rounded. I think it's even worse, to be honest. And I'm definitely not going to be able to drill this because I'd have to drill it from here. That's not going to work. So I think what I'm going to do is get a grinder and grind it off. I think that'll be much faster, a lot easier than drilling. Yeah, it's really hard getting all these parts off just because even though the truck's only a couple of years old, everything's just so rusty and seized up. I'm using that WD-40 knockoff, and yeah, it still ends up getting stuck. So kind of getting my butt kicked, but I'm going to get that grinder, and hopefully tomorrow goes a little bit better. But at least I got it started. Well, that was fast. A lot faster than yesterday. I don't have it completely off, but got the majority off. Huh. That was quick. Nice. I'm gonna see if I can't pound it out with a hammer now. I've got the bolt cut off with the grinder, but I'm gonna wait until I remove this whole thing to drill it because it's still not popping off. So now I'm gonna use my 17mm socket and take off this bolt. There's a lot of WD-40 today. Some of the many tools that I bought yesterday, because I didn't have the correct ones, was some 1/2 inch, what do you call it, 1/2 inch drive or whatever, 1/2 inch socket. And that is compatible with my breaker bar. So that is absolutely saving me because I was not going to get this bolt out. Now I'm going to be taking off this nut. We've just got this little pin here that I should just be able to pull right out, and then hopefully that nut's actually easy to get off for once. The pin's folded over on one side just to keep it in, so I'm trying to straighten that out. Actually, it wasn't folded over, it's that design. I'm gonna try not to lose him. Ugh. Oh, I got it. Lost a little skin, but I got it. I'm actually gonna tighten it up a little bit because I can't get my wrench out. There we go. Then I can just take it out by hand. The directions were saying to remove the nut in that pin, but not the bolt from inside here. So now we're gonna be using our pry bar, or our breaker bar in my case, and I'm gonna try to pry down on this arm and then get that bolt, which is connected to the arm, to pop out of here. Directions also say not to overextend this arm and wreck it. And I tried to get the ABS wire off again. It just will not budge. And I'm trying not to wreck it any more than I've already done. So I'm just going to, once I finally get this thing out, I'm just going to be laying it on this plastic case because I don't have a ton of room to work with, considering this wire is pretty short. Oh wow, I actually got it. Huh, nothing ever goes smooth for me. Call me Mechanic Cole. Sweet. All right. Well, I didn't expect that. All right. Well, next step, I guess. The next step, we're gonna have to pop the hood. Something that I recently learned that I thought was pretty neat about the Ridgeline. Probably a lot of cars do it, I guess, I don't know. But just from watching leveling kit videos, I learned that this is like the regular way that people put up their hoods, I guess. But there's another hole down here for servicing. So now it's up super tall and I can access things a lot easier. I had no idea. What we're after is way up here. There's just a little compartment that I'm gonna be popping up, and then another circular compartment here, and I'll be taking off 3 bolts, and that'll loosen up everything down there. For this, you're gonna need a 14mm socket and an extension for it as well. I'm gonna go extension into a deep socket. This is what we're taking off.
That way I've got a little bit more reach.
So if you got one more that's a bit more stuck.
There we are.
All I'm doing right now is just straightening this nut. They just pound it in and indent it after they put it on, just so it's not sliding off. But we should be good to take that off now. I certainly do not have a socket for this. My crescent wrench won't fit in there. Don't have a wrench big enough, so it's looking like I'm gonna have to DoorDash for like the 4th time some tools. And I don't know what size this is. I'm gonna have to look online because it is huge. And I'm gonna make a big list of all the tools that I ended up needing during this project, because I needed far more than what I was thinking and what other people said in videos. So I will do that and add it to the front of the video, and you guys can screenshot it if you want. But I guess I'm gonna figure out what size of nut this is and then DoorDash it again. I'll see you guys in a little bit. I got the socket for the axle nut. So what you're gonna need is a 36mm socket. So pretty big one. And before you try to take the nut off, don't forget to bend out this outer area. All right, hopefully we can pop this guy right off. I'm gonna try getting this screw out, and I've got it basically completely stripped. So I'm just trying a screw remover tool, see if that works. Really, really hope that it does. So otherwise we're in trouble. No way! You are kidding me. You guys do not understand the victory that we just got. I was on the verge of getting crabby. Huh. Get this guy off. Which is proven to be very difficult. Yes, we got her. Whoo, whoo, whoo. Now we're talking. Yes. Good as new. Now I think we're finally ready to take this thing out. And remember, I do still have that ABS wire on, but I took off this bolt around here, so I should just be able to take this part off now that we've got the axle nut out. And I did take off the 3 nuts that were up top there. There we go. All right, axle's off. Now I should just be able to bring this whole part down Alright guys, this is what we've been waiting for. Finally have access to the top and we can throw on our spacer. And I did just quickly grind off the spot where the sway bar link goes into. I know I was drilling it earlier but didn't quite get that finished, and I just ground it the rest of the way, shined her up a little bit on accident, but then started drilling it and it popped right out. So got that done. So let's get this on. I'm just going to be placing these bottom holes, 3 holes, on these bolts here, and it'll only fit one way, so you don't have to worry about putting it on wrong. There we are. So got that on, and then we're going to be using the old nuts that that were on the vehicle before. So I'm going to screw those onto these bolts. And I've seen some kits that the bolt actually extends over the spacer, so then they end up having to grind it off, and it kind of seems like a pain in the butt. But this one is fine. You have plenty of clearance. I'm going to tighten these guys up using a 14mm socket. Now it's ready to go on the vehicle, and instead of the bolts shoving through to the top, we're going to have bolts going down through the, I think it's called the cowl. Bolts and washers going down, and they'll just connect into the top. I'm going to need a 9/16 socket for these, and it does say to torque to 30 feet per pound. I'm also going to be using an extension, make it a little bit easier on myself. Make sure this fits. Yeah. I have no idea how I'm going to hold this up and then find these holes, line it up with those holes, and then get a bolt in. I'm lifting this up with one arm, and then my other arm's reaching all the way around the truck, into the hood, into the cowl, and I'm trying to twist the bolt into this hole. It's tough. So how I ended up getting it was I put the extension in the socket. I just took those off, put it on the bolt, and that way I was able to reach around and get it in the hole here. If you had 2 people, this job would definitely be much easier. But yeah, that cowl is so small that I can't really get my hands in it. So I was struggling with that. All that messing around, I put it in the wrong hole. Must have gotten twisted when I was messing with it. That one looks better. So here are the 2 bolts that I've gotten put in so far, and then I'm going to add this 3rd one. Then just tightening to 30 pounds per foot. Got it on. That was what we did this all for. So, sweet. Good to have done. Now, all we have to do is put absolutely everything back together and do the other side. I'm going to start by putting on the new sway bar link, and then we'll go from there, and I'll show you guys all the steps to put it back together. And it is the 4th of July, so there's a ton of fireworks going off, so I'm going to have as much audio as I can, but a lot of explosions right now. Coming in from this side, and just throwing on our nut. I'll get that tightened up. And this side. The socket that we're using for the sway bar lengths is a 19mm socket. And we're going to be torquing it to 58 pounds per foot. And this is the nut and bolt combo that you have to use the Allen wrench to tighten it. Now we're going to be placing the axle back through here. I'll lightly thread on the nut, and then we'll put her back on here and I'll toss in that bolt. I'm just making sure I've got everything ready. I've got the axle nut ready, and then this large bolt to go in through here. I'm gonna take this guy off just to reduce some of the weight. I'm actually gonna toss in the axle before I get it all the way up here, just because I don't think I'd be able to slide it in afterwards. All right. There's a small notch on the back of this thing, right back here, that you need to line up with a piece of metal that's sticking out of this. And I'll tighten that up fully once I get this axle nut on, and just making sure it's gonna work here. I couldn't find anywhere online about how much to tighten this bolt, so I'm just gonna tighten it as tight as I can, because there shouldn't be any reason for this to have to move. This next step is what I believe is supposed to be the hardest. So we're going to be bringing this arm down that we used the pry bar on last time. Now pry that all the way down and try to get the bolt on it up into this. It was really difficult just to get off. And now we added 1.5 inch spacer, so it's going to be that much more difficult. And it also says in the directions to make sure you're not prying this too far down, or some damage will occur. We definitely don't want that, but I'm going to give this my best shot. And I don't have the axle all the way through yet with the nut on, because the bolt that's on this lower arm is in the way, so I can't do that until we get it on. So I'm going to give it my best shot here. Might recruit Sarah. Something I just noticed was that I've got my ABS wire on the other side of my sway bar length, which we don't want, because then we can't hook it into the here and into here. So I'm just popping off the link quick, and then I'm going to put it on the inside of it. I should be able to just toss this ABS wire back in its place, just putting in the foam part, and then this plastic clip. Just get that back in place, and I'm going to put this nut back on the back side, because we never ended up getting that wire off anyway, so I could have just kept it in the whole time. I'll tighten that using a 10mm socket. Maybe I can do it actually. So now I can toss my axle nut on. So I'm just applying pressure down here. I'm actually sitting on this bar, but I want to keep where my thumb is. I want to keep that bolt. I want to push it out. That way I can just slide it slightly into this hole, and then we can go from there. But that is a lot easier said than done. Also don't want to smash my arm. Oh, it's so close. Oh, I think we got her. so it started in there. I'm just gonna apply a little bit of pressure this way. There we are. Whoa, sweet. Awesome. For a second, I was getting nervous, like it wasn't coming back up, like I bent it down too far and I broke it or something, but she is up and she is living. Now I'm gonna be putting this nut back on and this funky pin. Now we can put this guy back on. And that was our 17mm socket. I'm gonna pop the pin back in. I've got the pin in, now I'm just bending part of it to the side. So then the next guy can struggle trying to get it off. $19mm socket on this. We'll get the brake line hooked back up. Just using the 12mm socket. I think we're now ready to put the wheel back on. We're officially done with the driver's side. Got that 1.5-inch leveling kit. So now we're gonna start on the other side. I'm excited to see what it looks like. I thought about dropping this side down, but I'll just wait until I'm completely done to take it off the jacks. All right, so we're hopping over to the other side. Hopefully this side goes a little bit smoother, which I think it will now that we've actually got all the right tools. I'm gonna start by spraying everything with WD-40, and hopefully that'll loosen everything up for me and make the process a little bit easier. So again, just pulling off the ABS wire. We've got this plastic piece here that I found if you pull from the back with the pliers and then just use a screwdriver just to push in the sides and the front, that'll make it a lot easier to pull out. There we are. I'm going to undo the brake line. For that, we're using our 12mm socket. So we're just going for the bolt on the back here, and we're going to be using a 10mm socket. Well, I can't get that one either. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. I've tried wiggling it, tried twisting it, can't do anything. So I guess we'll just leave it there. Worked on the other side, so we will try that again. Now for my arch nemesis, the link that destroyed me on the last side. Oof. So it's looking like I'm gonna have to either drill or grind that bolt on the top of that link, same as the other side. So I'll do that, but I'm just gonna do something nice and easy, quick, just removing this pin here and the nut, and I'll pop this off. So this is just another 17 millimeter. And you definitely need deep sockets for a lot of the stuff on this whole deal. Yeah, success. Not a lot comes easy with this project, that's for sure. But it's got nothing to do with the product. It's all just the truck. Everything's just rusted and nasty and just doesn't want to come apart. It's loud. It's loud. And I'm just using the 19 millimeter socket. Bolts off, now just removing the brake caliper. Nice. And not setting it on the ground. So I'm just going to be using a screwdriver just to pry this guy out a little bit. I tried for a long time, tried a bunch of different bits just to get this Phillips screw out, and just like the other side, I cannot do it. I am just using a hand screwdriver, so maybe if you have an impact, you'd be able to get it, but she is stuck in there, just like the other side. So I'm going to try the reaming tool again and try to extract it. Hopefully it works as well as the other side. No way! Huh. I didn't even have to flip the tool around. Popped right out with this side. I'm not going to complain there. So how this tool works, well, here's the screw. But how this tool works is you go in reverse with this end. This is just supposed to ream it out, just like a drill bit. Then you flip it over and you go in reverse again, but you go very slow, and it's got all these threads here, and it catches the screw that's been reamed out and creates its own threads into the screw and pulls it out. Sweet. That's awesome to have done. But I am just getting my butt kicked on these. It would definitely be easier if this thing wasn't spinning. I think I'd actually be able to apply the force that I need to bust it loose, but it is spinning. So I'm going to see if I can get something to wedge in between here and hit the ground. Maybe that'll hold it. Maybe try this breaker bar here, and then just a regular socket wrench on that. See if that works. Don't have a lot of faith in that plan, but we'll see. I'm also just gonna see if I happen to have a big old chunk of metal around here, but this is a rental property, so I don't really have much here. I'm just gonna put a little piece of cardboard here just so it doesn't destroy the threads. Here goes nothing. guys, this is all part of the plan. It is in the instructions to find your fence gate holder dealio. Little ratchet, but I'm gonna try to use this pipe to put on top of the breaker bar, get me some more leverage, and hopefully break this thing loose, because it ain't working. Just tossing in this arm here to stabilize this. So maybe that'll work. It'd be really helpful if I had a second person just to keep the socket in. No way. We got her. Oh. Look at what I had to do. And this is not me telling you guys to do any of this, because this is just my situation, bit of a struggle. So I've got my wrench here, making sure this doesn't spin. I put this arm back on to help it from moving in, but then I threw in the hitch because it was still pushing in. So I got that so then it wouldn't move on me. And of course I've got my pipe and a breaker bar, but we finally got it. Oh man, that was tough. It's not rusty whatsoever. It looks brand new on the inside. Why was it such a struggle? I'm using the pliers to pull out on the pin and then a screwdriver to push out that end. I couldn't get it with the pliers and the screwdriver, so I just reached around with the screwdriver and was able to pop it out. I'm using a 19mm wrench for this. It's very stuck on nut. There we are. Now I should be able to pry down on this arm and we'll pop this out of place and we'll be able to take this whole thing off. Got our 14mm socket, and I found an extension. There we go. And once I take out all these bolts, the strut will drop straight down, so just have to be aware of that before I actually loosen all the bolts all the way. So I want that dropping on the feet. They're all out. Drops right down. Once again, just using the old nuts. place them right back on these bolts. Then we'll have some new bolts and washers to put in from the top. Got my bolt, washer, and then the split washer. And I'm just gonna confirm the orientation here, and then I'll get her thrown up. It's amazing how much easier something is after you've done it once. Now we can put on the sway bar link, and I'm just making sure I get that ABS wire inside this time so I don't have to redo it. And we need a 19mm socket for this one. Something that I've realized after doing the majority of this project is that I definitely didn't need to take this off. There it is. Especially with how much work I went through to get it. I don't think it was a necessity to take it off, so I definitely could have skipped it. It does make it easier to move this lower part around, definitely lighter, but yeah, I wasted a lot of time doing that, and I kind of wrecked the screws. And apparently to get this screw out, you're supposed to use something called, I think it was a rotor tap, so that's why it was so difficult for me. All right, ready?
I'm not even doing anything.
Oh, it's so close. So close.
Oh my god, it's hurting.
All right, 1 second. You got it. All right, you can stop. Oh, there we are. tightening up the brake line. This is a 12 millimeter. To put on the brake caliber is a 19 millimeter. Well, folks, we are officially done with the 1.5-inch leveling kit from JSPORT on our Honda Ridgeline. And I think it looks super nice. It definitely changes the look of the truck. The front end, even when I'm driving, I just took it for a little test drive to make sure the wheels don't fly off. And it just seems like the front end's quite a bit higher. I only drove a couple of miles, but I didn't notice any difference in the ride. It's still that great Honda Ridgeline ride that we all love. So yeah, definitely enjoying it so far, but I'll do a test drive and a couple road trips with it and just make sure that it holds up. As far as the project went, it ended up taking me a pretty long time, but a few reasons for that, or a couple of excuses, I guess. I spent a lot of time drilling, just things that I shouldn't have had to do, just nuts that were super rusted that I couldn't get out. So I spent quite a bit of time with that. And also I didn't have all the tools that I needed. I ended up door dashing a ton of tools. So I would say if you are gonna get into this project, I'm gonna have like a huge list of everything that I used, but I would make sure you have everything before you try to start it, because that would have made it a lot simpler for me. And a question that I feel like you guys are gonna end up asking me is, would I do this kit again? Like, would I do it by myself? Or would I recommend somebody trying it for their first time, doing it by themselves? And for me personally, now that I actually know what I'm doing, it would go so much faster. I would still have to do the drilling potentially if the bolts and nuts are stuck, but hopefully that's not the case. I'm sure it's not the case for everybody. But yeah, just a little bit of a difficult situation there for me. And the question, would I recommend somebody for their first time installing a leveling kit on the Honda Ridgeline? I would say as long as you have the tools to do it, meaning like the actual tools, like the equipment, because I ended up spending quite a bit of money just on different wrenches, different size sockets, just a bunch of miscellaneous stuff. So I ended up putting, well, I think I spent like a couple $100 on tools, to be honest, but I bought like some big kits that I needed to get anyway, so I'm happy that I've got the tools now. It would certainly make it easier if you already had the tools, and obviously be cheaper if you didn't have to buy them. But overall, I don't think it was a super hard project. Again, if I didn't have to do all that drilling, I think it would have went a lot smoother. I'm definitely happy that I did it. It was a cool experience. You know, I don't have a ton of experience doing mechanical stuff, and it's just something that gets me out of my comfort zone, so I always like that. I'm kind of used to getting my ass kicked because I'm always trying to get out of my comfort zone, and the project kicked my ass pretty good. But we got her done, and I'm really excited for it. It's looking awesome. And I'll have some more ground clearance too, which will be really nice for our trips. But again, thank you JSPORT, thank you Jeff. I appreciate you guys working with me, and I'm excited to work with you guys in the future. And thank you guys for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.